I wish I had a Diet Coke.
Ooh, I do have a Diet Coke.
Oh,
You want to take a minute and go get one?
yeah. I'll be right back. Okay, gotta get this ready. There we go. Chris, I know you got the email too.
Yeah, this week, Thursday or Friday, got an email in my inbox from Destiny 2.
It's I'll be honest, I clicked on it.
I opened the email, but I skimmed it, but I didn't go further than that.
Oh, I clicked on it.
And then I got this text from you with a screenshot in it.
I made it all the way to the Steam page to see what the prices were. So for those of you in the dark, I don't know how long it goes, but Destiny 2 Lightfall is on sale. And
Correct,
I'm not doing it.
We're not
doing it. We said it on this podcast. We're not doing it. But it is 25% off or 30% off or something like that.
Yeah, I think it's $75 for the annual pass thing.
I don't have time right now. Not right now. If I was bored or in a lull, it would be really hard to hold me back. But it was pretty easy to turn down right now. But oh boy, it got me to click on that email. You know what else gets me to click on the email every single time?
Eve,
every time they send an email, I think about resubscribing to Eve.
Yep. I don't really have that problem with Eve too much. I mean, sometimes I do, but not. I mostly ignore their emails unless they say we're having an amazing sale, and then I'm like, all right, I'll take a look at what the amazing sale is, and then I don't.
That's
do it.
all they ever send.
No, I got something this
sale
week
with login rewards, and I'm just like, gosh darn it.
Yeah, well,
they work. They work on me. I think it's only worked once with Eve. And I think it was that time I resubscribed and I said, don't resubscribe. And I think I correctly called that one. That was, I don't know, a year ago now.
Yeah, I think you played for about 2 weeks and then dropped it. And I was waiting to jump in on the second month.
Yeah. Anyway, Lightfall on sale for some amount of time. I don't know. You didn't hear it here first.
Just real quick, I know we're in the pre-show here, and this is more of a show topic, but I'm going to make it a thing. Didn't Lightfall get terrible reviews?
No. Okay. So the story, awful reviews, just terrible. So the reason we play, terrible reviews. But apparently the new game mechanics with the new, element called strum. I can't remember. Something about string and, grappling and stuff. But apparently the gameplay is really good. And apparently the everything, like the loadout system and like a lot of the quality of life stuff and things you would expect to just be included in the base game, which I think they are, actually. I think it was just part of the update. But the story itself, not very good. The new subclass is supposed to be great. So, like, everything I'm hearing is first 20 hours of the expansion, terrible. Just awful. Just not fun, not interesting. I heard that the campaign was just a tutorial on, like, how to use the new subclass. It wasn't even like the story just wasn't there. So like first 20 hours really bad. And then everything after that really good. Like if you kept playing and you liked Destiny for Destiny and not specifically just for the story, that it was actually a pretty solid update with a lot of features and a lot of quality of life stuff and, switching up the gameplay and all of that good stuff. So mixed bag.
Oh, this conversation made me go look at the marketing website, and it does look well marketed.
Yeah, I mean, listen, if there's one thing that Destiny knows how to do, it's how to market. They make really good trailers. Welcome to Pride and Accomplishment. My name is Jason.
And I'm Chris. This is episode 98. Jason, I have a little bit of follow-up from a couple of episodes ago. Oh, actually, I should say, welcome back to Normal P&A, where it's just Chris and Jason talking about video game stuff.
Just us. I mean, it was a lot of fun to have guests, but that changed things up. It threw a curveball at us. It was a lot of fun to edit. It was a little different, but now it's just us sitting in a Discord channel all by our lonesome.
But not to say that we'll never have guests again. That was actually a really fun time. And again, we've thanked them many times, but thank you to American Azure for coming on to the previous 2 episodes.
Yes, thank you. And if you have feedback on it or want have another topic for people, just let us know. Like, I would love to have guests again. So yeah, not to say we won't do it again, but for now, hi, Chris.
Hi, Jason. Anyway, back to follow-up. So a couple of episodes ago, 3 now, I think, we talked about the Nintendo Switch Online game vouchers and how the Zelda expansion was coming out and all of that stuff, and how I didn't really like Breath of the Wild, and this expansion is coming out and you predicted I would buy it. So a little bit of an update on that. I picked up Breath of the Wild again, and I'm not totally hating it, but I'm not totally loving it.
Okay, so it's not a bad game. It's nothing.
It was like the game of the year of every single site the year it came out, so it can't be said to be a bad game. I think that's overblowing
it a little bit. But I just had a problem with the whole, like, weapons being consumable. I just hated that.
I had kind of an epiphany on that today when I was playing for, like, 15 minutes. I picked up a weak weapon. I used it to go attack kind of the next set of enemies and killed them, but my weapon broke at the same time, basically. And then I just picked up another weak weapon from that set of enemies. So really what I think it is that if you are averse to combat, like I am, and maybe you are, you never get that kind of treadmill of weapons. And so if the only things you ever fight are like bosses and things that don't really drop weapons, then you're kind of out of luck.
I don't like the mechanic of weapons breaking in the middle of the fight. Like, that's not a stress. Like, why? It's just not an element of combat I need. I feel like the combat in Breath of the Wild and many like open, it's if it's not interesting enough on its own, then I don't know. I've never been a big Zelda guy. I've never been a big, like, that's never been my thing, but I don't know. I didn't care for Breath of the Wild.
I didn't like it at the time. I'm kind of liking it at the moment because I'm coming back into it and making a little bit of progress, but it's not my favorite, like I said, but it's kind of like, well, this was a thing. Everybody was so excited about it. I do like Zelda games generally. I didn't like this one as much because it didn't really have like the dungeons and the linear gameplay that I kind of expect out of a Zelda game. I loved Link's Awakening, which we talked about on the show. And I think I might actually finish Breath of the Wild because I can pick it up and put it down on the Switch.
How many Guardians had you killed before you picked it back up?
2 out of 4.
And how many have you killed now?
85% of 1.
Oh, you started over.
No. Sorry. 85% of the third one.
Oh, is it not just a battle?
No. So I don't remember the first 2 because it's been years since I did them.
Well, you don't have to do them in any particular order, but
anyway, the one that I'm doing, I guess spoiler-ish alert for the game that's 6 years old now.
You've had a couple of years to play this game. Go ahead. Spoiler alert, I guess.
I'm at the camel guardian or whatever you call it. So there's one that's like shaped like a camel. And it's actually mostly a puzzle. And I was like, oh, this is cool. You know, it's puzzly. Like, you got to do all this puzzly stuff. And I was working through it. And then you get to the end of the puzzle part and you do the last little terminal thing to like unlock it and finish it. And it turns into a boss fight. And it's like a really hard boss fight. Or at least for me, it's a really hard boss fight. So I realized I was unprepared and I just left. So the boss fight is still kind of TBD. Like, you die and then you come back to the button where you push the button to make the boss fight happen. So instead of pushing the button, I just left and I can go, get more stuff or get more hearts or whatever. So really what I've actually been doing lately has been looking for shrines so that I can get more little spirit orbs so that I can get more hearts so that I can go back and fight this thing. So we'll see how it goes, but I'm not hating it, but I'm also not loving it. The combat is a little bit clunkier than I wish it was. And maybe I just haven't found the right weapon that I like. But if I do find the right weapon, I can't use it forever. So what's the point?
Exactly. That's what I like about like, I'm gonna use Assassin's Creed as something I like. That's the thing I like about Assassin's Creed, right? If you find a set of weapons and armor and things that you like, there are, at least in the more recent ones, ways to upgrade those weapons to keep them with you for the rest of your run. Right. And I'm specifically thinking of Assassin's Creed Odyssey, but like you sometimes out-leveled your weapons. So if you wanted to keep those, you either had to find new weapons or you could go pay resources to upgrade them to your level. And I don't like when games force variety. I appreciate games that allow variety, but I felt like Breath of the Wild was forcing weapon variety on me, and I just didn't care for that. You know, I'm going to do it. Ready? I'm going to use Warframe as the other example. Oh my God. Go. What an episode, right? Spoiler alert, I'm playing a little bit of Warframe right now. And by a little bit, I mean probably too much.
A lot of it.
Oh, come on.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
Anyway, so Warframe's one of those games. 52 different frames, right? You want variety? You got variety. There's plenty of variety. There are 100 ways to do any task. Some are easier than others. You're allowed to do it. But if I just want to like bulldoze my way through that mission, that's not really meant for Trinity and a Soma Prime, which, okay, is not really meant for the Warframe and the weapon that I really like. Those aren't actually weapons and that I really like. But anyway, if I just want to bulldoze it and I want to do it my way, I'm allowed to. I can do that. Like nothing is stopping me from not having variety in Warframe. Now I choose in certain cases to sometimes use the best Warframe in the best weapon for that scenario. And a lot of times it's figuring out which one is the best. But like at no point does my weapon break and force me to use something else to force variety upon me. I just, it allows variety. It encourages variety, but it does not force it. My rant over, but that's when it comes down to it, like that was my thing with Breath of the Wild is when I found something I loved and I wanted to use over and over again. And I wanted to play. I just wanted a story. Give me the story, right? Like that's why I play. I mean, with God of War mode, I get the difficulty selective. Just give me a story. And when you make me go find a new stick to hit enemies with because my last one broke, that's not what I'm there for.
Yeah, I think I realized that I enjoy the exploration piece in some ways, but in many other ways I don't like it. Like I like the climbing of the walls to get up to the taller peak so that you can get to the next thing. But if I can't find the next thing and I end up getting killed by some random enemy that I run into accidentally while looking for the next shrine or something, that's not a fun experience for me. Like I know it's emergent gameplay or whatever, but like I don't like it. Like I don't enjoy that part of it. I would rather be able to kind of have a smaller world that I could explore a little bit, but has like some secrets that are maybe like, gated behind different, items that you get, kind of like old Zelda, right? And have relatively predictable enemies and they're always going to be in these places and you can sneak around them if you want or whatever. And I'm sure that somebody that plays a lot of Breath of the Wild will tell me that all is possible if you really know what you're doing. But that's maybe not the level of fan that I am.
That was quite a segment. We talked about Breath of the Wild, Assassin's Creed, and Warframe, and you threw in some old Zelda game. Wow, that was a segment.
Yeah, if you're keeping track, that's many games for this episode.
Another quick follow-up that we wanted to point out for those that are listening and have been around for a bit. We have, I don't remember where we announced last time, but as of this point, Chris and I, in our World of Warcraft heroic raiding adventure, are on the last boss with our group and our team. And we are slowly progressing on the last boss. This episode comes out April 13th. And then there is another episode on April 27th. And that will be the last episode before the end of season 1 in World of Warcraft, which means the clock is ticking for Ahead of the Curve.
Yes, for those that don't know, Ahead of the Curve is when you finish the current content, the current raid on heroic difficulty and beat the last boss before the next season and the next raid comes out. So we are right there on the doorstep and we're almost there. So I did the math when they made this announcement this past week as we record, and we have something like 60 to 80 attempts total, and we've already burned maybe 10 of them on Tuesday night this past week. So just based on timing and the raid times that we have and the raid nights that we have. Obviously, we could do this every single day if we wanted to, but with the group that we have and the schedule that we have about 80 attempts total. And so it's almost like putting lives on it in like a Mario game or something.
Yeah. And I will say we are progressing. We're getting there. But I feel the pressure of the clock. It's going to be tight.
Mm-hmm. Yep. We definitely thought that we had like all the way through the month of May before this was going to be a problem. And then all of a sudden at the beginning of April, they're like, hey, surprise, beginning of May is the next season. So the new season for World of Warcraft comes out on May 2nd. And then the new raid comes out on May 9th. So it's coming quick.
So wish us luck. Hopefully we don't need it. And we'll give you an update next time.
The last time. Next time you'll know whether or not we had it or whether or not we're trying to push it for the last day, because that'll be when the next episode comes out.
So Chris, you and I took some time last week to try something again that we have probably talked about on the show a couple of times. And every time it comes up, we're like, we're going to try this again. We're going to do it this time. We're going to do it this time. So we logged back into Guild Wars 2 and we tried Super Adventure Box for 2023 another time. And I will say, I had a pretty good time with it, and you had a lot of ups and downs from my perspective. Looking at you playing, it seemed like there were a lot of highs and a lot of lows.
I think so. I played Super Adventure Box 2 years ago. I mean, I played it the first time it came out and thought it was the greatest thing ever, because Internet April Fool's things that aren't stupid pranks are actually a big fan of mine. Like, I really like clever things that companies do for April Fool's Day, and Super Adventure Box was something that Guild Wars did many years ago now for April Fool's Day at one point, and they made their game into something that looked kind of like a, kind of blocky Super Mario kind of a game, like a Super Nintendo-y kind of thing with all sorts of blocky characters. Yeah, it's a play on like
an 8-bit world, like the block characters.
Yeah, kind of, but more like 3D. So it's almost like a Banjo-Kazooie kind of thing or something.
Yeah.
And so anyway, so they did this thing a long time ago, and I've kind of dipped into it, I think, every year. A couple years ago, I tried to give it a real shot. And I don't know, it's fine. If I'm going to play a game like that, I don't feel like Guild Wars 2 is the place I want to do that.
Yeah, that's fair. The only reason I wanted to bring it up is I wanted to say to you here, kind of in the public, just on the show, my goal for this year, right? It's only around for 3 or so weeks. My goal for this year is to finish the adventure box, just finish the story, like the main normal mode, get to the end, experience the whole thing. Not any of the secret rooms or the secret missions or the secret side quests, or just, straight line to the end. You and I did World 1, like Zone 1, Zone 2, Zone 3. And then I think we did World 2, Zone 1, which was a bit of a new experience to us, right? It was hey, this is new stuff. I'd never seen this before. I'd never beaten this before. And we got all the way to the end of Zone 1 of World 2. There are 2 more zones. There's World 2, Zone 2, and Zone 3. And then it kind of ends there for now. I did Zone 2 earlier today, and I am about halfway through Zone 3 of World 2. I hope you're keeping these straight. I'll just
that they
level
usually
5
call these
6.
things. Okay, fine. I was going to say in most games they call it like 2-1, 2-2, 2-3. like Mario games and such. They have 1-1, World 1-1, World 1-2.
Yeah, I don't know. The way that it shows up in game is World 1, Zone 1. But anyway, there's 6 levels. There's 3 zones in World 1 and 3 zones in World 2. So I'm just going to level 1 through 3 and 4 through 6. So we did level 4 together, and I did level 5 earlier today, and I'm halfway through level 6. It gets hard. It gets so hard. Like, it took us a little bit to get through like level 3, level 4, right? Like, oh, okay, that was kind of difficult. We had to try a couple things a couple times. I beat my head against the wall in the last couple of runs that I had to do. I just could. I was getting so frustrated, and I was like, I just want to finish this thing so I can be done, so I can say I did it. And I'm close. I'm gonna get there. I'm gonna do it. But I think it was a good idea for you to stop where you did, is what I'm trying to say.
I think my thing of it is like, it's clever, it's cool, it was a fun April Fool's thing. I'm just not motivated to do that thing in Guild Wars, but I'm also very motivated to prove you wrong and do things in Guild Wars. And like, it's a really stupid like thing, but it's like a weird pride thing for me where it's like, I'm going to get a sky scale, which I did, just to prove people wrong that I can't, don't care about Guild Wars, or I'm going to get the turtle in the new expansion, which I did. Like, it's just a stubbornness, I think, about me with Guild Wars, because I don't know. I can play Guild Wars, right? I can do it. I don't care to do any of the endgamey stuff, but like some of this kind of achievement hunting-y kinds of things, like I can hang with that if that's what I want to do, and I just have to like prove it to myself and others occasionally. But no, I'm not about here to like drop an announcement that I've finished all of the worlds or anything like that, because I guess I could have been building to that. But
no, I did stop. I wouldn't recommend it for you. I don't think you'd have fun with it, and I don't think you'd struggle. You'd be able to do it. You're perfectly capable, but I think the experience you got was good, and you should just, put a little bow on it and stop there. And if I wasn't so stubborn, I would have done the same thing.
I will say I did have fun running through that with you, and more fun running it with you than without. Like when I did it by myself in previous years, it was less fun.
I think it's way more fun with someone else. I mean, you play games to play with other people. Like, I think these games are more fun with someone else. But I'm just trying to finish it at this point. You have such a weird relationship with Guild Wars.
I really do. I really do.
I've never been able to nail it down, and I don't, because you don't do endgame, but you could do endgame. But do you just feel like you're not? I don't know. Maybe we'll dig into that someday. Just a weird relationship with Guild Wars.
The Guild Wars therapy session. Great.
Can never quite nail it down.
You and me both.
Okay, Chris, we did some homework.
Yes, we did do homework, and it's amazing because I just suggested this as homework like yesterday at noon, and today we are here having done the homework.
To be fair, I was planning to do the homework anyway.
Well, I was probably going to also. So I guess maybe it was easy homework.
To begin, I'll say to everyone, the homework was to go watch the Super Mario Brothers movie that came out in the theaters, I think last week, right? Or 2 weeks ago now?
This past, I guess a week ago as this show goes out on April 5th.
So we went and saw the movie. And I was planning on seeing it anyway. I do want to say right now that I do not plan to spoil anything. There isn't really a whole lot to spoil, but I don't plan to spoil anything.
Okay, that's fair. We'll keep that as a general point. I don't know. I mean, at this point, I feel like we should say like, yeah, this might be like super light spoilers, but I don't think there's anything that's like, to your point, there's nothing to spoil. Like, there's no crazy reveals.
And maybe we can start there. In general, I just want to say, worth seeing. I liked it, but like, if we want to like look at it from a plot standpoint, what would you like if you had to describe someone the plot of the movie? Like, I don't know that I could do it. I don't know that I could like nail down what the movie was about.
I would say that this movie was about seeing Mario in a very well done CGI film. It was an hour and a half long cutscene that was essentially the story bits of a Mario game.
Yeah. Which,
if you know the story bits of a Mario game, you know how deep that is, which is not very.
Yeah, and that's what, yes. But the thing was, that's exactly what it needed to be.
Right. I mean, that's what I signed up for, and that's what I got, so I'm happy. But there are a lot of people on the internet that, or like movie critic types that are like, this movie had no plot and it was terrible. And it's like, okay, but it wasn't really trying to have a plot, to be fair.
Yeah, it was the thinnest layer of some like, you know, side plot kind of stuff that I don't really want to get into because I don't want to spoil, you know, those pieces of it. But like the main piece of it was the same old story, you know, thin layered story you get in any Mario game. You don't really, you start World 1-1. See what I did?
Yeah, there it is.
You start World 1-1 in Super Mario's on the Game Boy or whatever it's called. I don't remember what it's called, but that you're just jumping on Goombas. Who needs more story than that?
Yeah. No, and that's pretty much it. I mean, it was a lot of world building in the Mario kind of world, but not Super Mario World. There wasn't actually much reference to Super Mario World, to be fair, but a little bit of reference to 3D World. So that was cool. But yeah, you're just like in that world. You're seeing all of like nicely rendered, you know, well imagined kind of concepts from different Mario games done in full commercial, big budget level CGI. That was it. But the thing it really did have going for it, though, was the music.
Oh my goodness, that playlist. That soundtrack was the best thing to come out of that movie, for sure. No doubt in my mind. The best thing to be produced for the world for that movie was the soundtrack. It's been added to everything on Spotify for me. It's been added to all my playlists. It was excellent. It took everything you ever wanted to hear about Mario and made it like movie soundtrack, full featured kind of versions of those songs, and it made me very happy.
Yeah, I definitely enjoyed the musical things when I recognized them, where like you first see and these are, again, not really spoilers because I'm pretty sure all this stuff is in the trailers, and if not, you should really expect that it was here anyway, so not a spoiler, or maybe it is, and sorry. But when you see Princess Peach's castle for the first time and they play the little dun 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 da 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 dun, you're like, oh my gosh, it's the thing from Super Mario 64. Like, it's the music. And it just was super like nostalgia inducing in all kind of the right places.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, exactly. There were some songs that I recognized that I couldn't quite place, and that's probably just because I'm not as big of a Mario fan. But there are some that you recognize, you place, you get the memory in your head, you get just the absolute sledgehammer of nostalgia, and it just it did that over and over and over again. I was talking to someone, you know, just the music was one piece of it, but like, if you go back and say like they're not even, are they even Easter eggs if they're not hidden? But there are just so many references. There are so many placements of things that are from games or from other stories or from other things, or there's just so much of it that it is non-stop. There is a nostalgia trip or some kind of reference or some kind of Easter egg in every 15 seconds of the movie.
Yeah, no, that's probably about the right frequency. Maybe once a minute, but either way, yes, it was just, everything was very well done in that regard, and lots of all the right kind of, the notes were hit both in the music and on the screen. So that was very satisfying as a person. As a gamer, as somebody who grew up playing Mario games, I was very satisfied.
The one Mario game that I have played the most, or at least most recently, is Mario Odyssey. And I don't remember if there was a particular reference to Mario Odyssey anywhere. And if there was, I didn't quite catch it. There might have been a song or two that was specific from that. But I was a little disappointed that they didn't have any nod to like Jump Up Superstar, which is the song that plays in the city. I don't remember the name of it.
New Donk City is the name of the city.
Yeah, and that's the one when you beat that city. Like, it's the great song. I was wishing there was a reference to that. That would have been kind of nice. Particularly while they were like running through the city. It's pretty early in the movie. I would have liked it there. I don't know. But it was everything else was there. I just am most familiar with Mario Odyssey, so that was something that I felt I wanted from it.
Well, did you catch they had Mario Kart references there? They had like
all over.
They had stuff like that. They had all sorts of cool things. I really appreciated all of that. The music thing, there have been a lot of like big band arrangements of Mario songs and like orchestral recordings of Mario songs because it's like super popular music. But these were like professionally done. You can get them on a reliable CD that you can actually find on, Spotify and Apple Music. And I am a little bit disappointed that the things weren't longer, like the arrangements and the nods and all of those kinds of things. They were a little bit too baked into the movie music for it, but like I did appreciate that the arrangements were there and that the music was there. So that was cool. I kept getting massive Wreck-It Ralph vibes though from this movie. And I think that's just a chicken and egg thing. I think that's just that Wreck-It Ralph came, 10 years ago at this point. And so it was just massively, I was getting big throwbacks to that as I was watching this movie.
I didn't quite get that, but I could see where it came from. I didn't feel it never popped into my head while I was watching.
I feel like Wreck-It Ralph took a lot of Mario tropes and did them in Wreck-It Ralph, and now I feel like the new Super Mario Brothers movie is doing Wreck-It Ralph doing Mario, And maybe that was just the animation style. Maybe it was the voice actors who were all kind of similar-ish to John C. Reilly and as Ralph, I don't know. It was something about it just, and like maybe it was the music, the music was kind of similar. All like not the Mario music, but like the filler music was kind of like the same kinds of strings and orchestrally things. I don't know. It was something about it where I just kind of got some Wreck-It Ralph vibes.
Yeah, again, looking back, I can totally see that. I don't know that I got that in the moment, which is fine. I think they're obviously two distinctive movies, but I can see where you got that from. Speaking of some of the actors, right? There was a lot of heat when this movie kind of first got announced, and they announced who Mario was going to be with Chris Pratt. And I have to say, going in, I try very hard to disassociate the person from the voice actor. And the best kind of voice actors, in my opinion, are the ones that like maybe you can hear their voice if you're listening for it, but in the end, like they really do become that character and they jive with that character very well. And you think it's Mario. I'm not thinking Chris Pratt in my head. I'm thinking Mario. And I think basically everyone in that whole movie, except for one, did a very, very good job of that did a very nice job. And even though they were famous people that I did recognize, most of them actually ended up really playing their character well.
I knew it was Chris Pratt, like intellectually, but I did not get major Chris Pratt vibes from watching this movie while Mario was on screen. Like I was impressed at how not Star-Lord that I found Mario to be, if that makes sense, or not Owen from Jurassic World.
Yes. Yeah. I never got those images in my head. The other one, Jack Black, right, as Bowser.
Oh yeah.
There were some scenes where obviously they're playing it up a little bit and they're doing it on purpose, but like in general, most of the time when the movie is happening, it came across as Bowser. It came like genuinely Bowser was talking, not kind of Jack Black or any of his other characters, unless they wanted it to, right? And that was the part that kind of like worked. Like you knew in the background who it was, and so that when they played a joke off of it, it was just like, okay, cool, I'm into that. Like that's fine. And then it just went right back to being Bowser, and I was like, okay, cool. That was a fun little joke, and now we're back. So they played that line really well for everyone except Donkey Kong.
And Donkey Kong was played by Seth Rogen, right?
Yes. That was not Donkey Kong. That was Seth Rogen in a Donkey Kong costume.
Oh man, now I want to see him on Saturday Night Live in a Donkey Kong Halloween costume doing that.
There was no Donkey Kong. I mean, and maybe that's because Donkey Kong never actually talks in any of the games.
Neither does Mario, really.
Neither does Mario, and barely does Bowser. I mean, like, I don't know. Maybe they had nothing to work with, so they just said Donkey Kong is Seth Rogen, and Seth Rogen is Donkey Kong. But that, oh god, I don't want to ruin it, because for someone that hasn't seen it, I don't want to say don't go see it. But like, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about when you see Donkey Kong. And you're just like, this is like, up until this point, everything has been so good, and then they just threw this, and I was like, what is happening right now?
Yeah, I do hope that no one takes anything that we're saying as a reason to not go see this movie, because if you are a gamer or a person who has played more than, I would say, 10 hours of Mario games in your entire life, you should probably go see this movie. Which, I mean, that's an extremely low bar if you grew up with a Nintendo anything in your life.
You'll appreciate this movie if you 10 hours is a good bar.
Like, if you just picked it up at your cousin's house for 10 minutes, like, you're not going to appreciate it. But like, if you put a little bit of time into it growing up or at all, then I would absolutely recommend you go see this movie.
I think this movie did what it was supposed to do. Like we said, we went in not expecting a huge story, not expecting like a whole lot from it. But it was very obviously a big marketing campaign by Nintendo.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Which is fine. It's fine. And I just have to say that, for all the flack I get for not ever knowing where my Switch is, I know where my Switch is now. So I guess Nintendo's movie of Super Mario Brothers did its job. I had, after watching this movie, huge urges to go play Mario Kart. That's all I wanted to do after the movie was over. So I did find my Switch. I am at this point heavily considering buying that Mario Kart expansion where it's all of the old levels. I think you already have it. And that was the one that was going to get released over time, and I'm pretty sure they're close to releasing everything at this point, right?
I believe it was coming in 4 waves, and I think the 4th wave just came out, so I think it's done. I did buy it, but I didn't really play it all that much, but I did enjoy the levels that I did play of the first wave. One thing I will recommend to you is, if you would like to play online and scratch the itch to do this, if you get the $50 level of the Nintendo Switch Online for the year, you get the N64 games in the like Virtual Console collection, and you also get that Mario Kart expansion, and you also get the Splatoon 2 expansion. So and you also get the Animal Crossing expansion, now that I think about it. So like, I know you don't play all these games, but like, if you're just looking to scratch the itch and you want to play online, which is $20 a year anyway, it might be a reasonable way to scratch that itch.
Do I get them forever or just for the year?
I think it's just while you're subscribed, but like, I don't know. I bought it straight out before I had the option to get it through this expansion thing, I think. So
it's $40 on its own, isn't it?
I think it's 25, 30. I don't know.
Oh, okay. I don't know. We'll see. I don't really play any of those other games. I do maybe kind of want to play it online. Maybe.
I'd play with you.
I know. But I do. You kind of can maybe with the N64 stuff. Maybe I'd have to see what games were included.
They have Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, so that was kind of the that would do it for me.
Neither of which I've played or have any nostalgia for.
Yeah, they have Banjo-Kazooie also, which I do have some interest in playing.
Do they have Armored Core?
I don't think so, but maybe. I don't know. That wouldn't have raised my eyebrows.
I think that was on PlayStation.
It also does get you the Game Boy Advance collection, which does, I think, include one of the Advance Wars games.
Oh. Wow, did you see that a new one just came out?
Yeah, it's coming as pre-orderable for the Switch.
Okay, all right, yeah.
I will say that having played Breath of the Wild on my Switch, as I mentioned earlier, for a little while, I am begging for a updated Switch hardware. like a Switch Pro or a Switch 2 or whatever the next thing of the Switch is. I want another one, and I want it to have at least the processor from the Steam Deck.
I mean, you don't have the OLED, right? That won't matter to you. I mean, do you play on your TV or do you play handheld more often?
I think I play the handheld most often, actually.
Okay.
But at this point, it would kill me to buy another Switch with the same insides and just a better screen, and then like a year from now have them come out with another better Switch that I would feel compelled to buy.
I wonder if you could find one used.
A Switch OLED?
Yeah.
Maybe.
And selling yours, I don't know how that whole transaction would go, but yeah, no, I hear you. I can see that. I obviously don't spend enough time with my Switch for it to matter, but so I don't really know yet, but I've heard that from basically everyone. Every video game review that comes out right now that the game is also on the Switch, they're just like, why? The Switch is just such old hardware. It can barely drive these games.
It's a great idea, and it is a great console, and the Nintendo makes great games, but I want them to have better hardware. And I know that that's never been the point for Nintendo, but like, it's really old at this point. The Switch itself came out in 2016, something like that, and it was using relatively underpowered hardware then. Like, it's just
that's the problem. Yeah. No, and we're not saying for it to be like the latest and greatest. We're saying, get within the last 5 years, maybe 3 years, because if you get within the last 5 years, by the time it just doesn't hold up as long anymore. And I think, maybe I'm wrong about this, but I think we've kind of slowed down a little bit. So if they updated it to today's stuff, I think it would be good for a long period of time. The Switch came out in a period of rapid, I mean, it's always been rapid, but particularly, I think in if you zoom in a little bit, it came out at a really bad time from a processor standpoint, from a internals and the industry and everything else and all of the other games and just the console generation on the other side. Everything just kind of was out of sync with it, and it was behind as soon as it came out, and it is now showing, 7 years later.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I can see that. Yeah. I don't know. It did its job. The movie did its job. That's all I really have to say about it. It was great. It did its job both as a movie and as a hour and a half long advertisement for Nintendo.
Did you ever see, speaking of hour and a half long advertisements for Nintendo, did you ever see the movie that came out in the mid 90s called The Wizard?
No.
So this was a 100% marketing thing from Nintendo. They used to do like a Nintendo World competition thing or something. Like they would do a thing on the NES. Like this was, early on. They did some kind of like giant game championship thing with like a mini like convention. It was like a tournament, like a thing where you would come and like play and whatever. And they made special cartridges for it. And you could sometimes see the cartridges come up as like little auction pieces and people talk about it. But they made this movie, and I'm pretty sure it was called The Wizard. Anyway, it came out in 1989, so my timing was a little bit off. But it was basically about this kid that really wanted to go play in this tournament thing. And so the whole movie is about him getting across the country because, this was a 90s trope of like, oh, man, I'm a kid that's going to like run away from home and somehow, find my way to the other side of the country. Yeah, right. And this was the part where they like go to like somebody's house and the kid has like the game glove, that thing. And like they go to the kid's house and he's, really good and he's really intimidating and he plays with the game glove and everything, all this stuff. Anyway, the kid ended up going and they're playing Super Mario Brothers 3, which was like my favorite game growing up. So I've never like had the DVD for this or anything like that, or like even the VHS tape, but I remember catching it like on TV or seeing it somewhere and thinking it was like the coolest movie ever. The entire thing, the whole point of the whole thing was just to be an advertisement for Super Mario Brothers 3. So Nintendo has a long history of making movies to advertise.
Did that one work as well as this one?
I don't know. I mean, it came out a little before my time. I saw it when it was, rerun material, not really when it was new. So I don't know. But I had an NES at the time and Super Mario Brothers 3 was my favorite game. So I guess that's that. And I'm still talking about it 30 years later, so there's also that.
Yeah, good point.
So mission accomplished on that one too, I guess.
Semi-related to the Mario movie, but kind of parallel to that. How was your theater experience?
So I went to a local theater that we have that's like relatively small. It's only got like 5 screens and it's pretty cheap, which is nice. It was the most packed I have ever seen that theater. Granted, I don't usually go to things, launch weekend, opening weekend, but like this was the most busy that I have ever seen that place, to the point where like the line for concessions was making it so that the line to get into the theater was out the door. I mean, again, very small place, but like it was the most packed I've ever seen it. And my theater was, I want to say like 50% or more of children, which is cool. Like it was interesting to see that. But like, I would say that the average, the kids were probably all, 12 and under.
Was your theater full? Like, was it sold out or close to?
Pretty close. Yeah. It wasn't sold out, but like when I went to go get tickets, mid-afternoon after I proposed to you that we go see this, it was a challenge to find a seat.
So I have a number of theaters I can choose from here, and I specifically chose a showing. I wanted to go to IMAX because I wanted to see it on the big screen. I like going to IMAX, 2D IMAX,
of course.
But that was like totally booked. I mean, I could have found a seat, but I'd been sitting next to. I would have people on either side of me, and I didn't want that. I didn't want to go to a busy, packed theater. So I actually chose to go to. It's still a Regal Cinema. It's still a big theater, but 20 screens. It mean massive, but like they were showing it every 15 minutes.
Wow.
So like no individual showing of it was, packed. And I think in my theater there were probably 15 other people. But just in general, God, I used to be such a movie theater guy. I used to be like every weekend going to see the latest movie, and I was just such a bitter old man going to see this movie at this theater.
Really?
I felt like I didn't bring kids. I don't have kids, but they don't bother me so much. Like I don't mind. But I'm sitting there in the theater and I swear to you, someone was up or down the stairs there's only 20 people in this theater. There's only 15 people in this theater. Someone was up or down, like walking up or down the stairs every 5 minutes. And someone was on their phone in the front. Like I could see that. And at some point, like this kid just started crying in the back. I mean, they were probably a baby. They were probably smaller, a toddler or whatever. But the parents just didn't take them out of the theater. Like they just stayed there, watched the movie. And the kid cried for like 6 minutes. I was just like, is this what it is now? Is this what going to a theater? And like, yes, I understand it's a kid's movie. Fine. But whatever. But like, I don't remember, like I used to go all the time and I used to go see family movies, right? I'm not just talking big action flicks. I used to go see everything. Like there was a year I went and saw 36 movies in 1 year at the theater. So like I saw everything that came out, from Disney movies to action flicks. And this was one of the worst theater experiences I've ever had from a other people perspective. And I'm just not the kind of guy that normally complains about that. I just felt like this bitter old man.
Wow. Yeah, the kids were pretty well behaved in my theater. I was actually going to comment, like, so there was a couple times that sure, like, one parent and their one kid left for a minute and came back to go to the bathroom or something. But there weren't really stairs and it wasn't really a super big production for them to do that. So it was fine. But I was actually going to say I enjoyed my theater experience because it was a mostly full theater and because of the kids and everything else, that people laughed at all the jokes. And like, it was the kind of experience that you're like, I'm glad I saw this with people. Like, I'm glad I saw this in a theater. So I actually had the opposite experience and I didn't feel like a bitter old man. So I'll play counterpoint to that.
I wish I had your experience. Those are the kind of experiences I remember. And maybe that was my bad for choosing a smaller theater, less busy, but like at the same time, I don't know. I don't know. It didn't encourage me to go see more movies at the theater. Like I have not seen a movie at the theater in probably over a year. I mean, I genuinely probably over a year. I can't remember the last one I saw. And I was like, oh man, we're going to go to the movie theater. I'm going to have a good time. Like this is going to get me back into the swing of things of seeing movies. And boy, it did not do that. It did not encourage me to go see more movies at the theater.
Well, that's a shame, because I definitely was saying, man, I wish Jason were here to go see this movie for this.
I'd have loved to go with you. That'd have been fun.
Well, next time there's a Mario movie.
I don't want to spoil anything, but there are after credit scenes. So if you haven't seen the movie yet, make sure you stay until after the credits. I don't want to talk about them because they're a little bit spoiler. They're both fun. They're small. And if you didn't see them, I'm sure they're on YouTube. But make sure you stay after the credits if that's your thing. Did you stay for those credit scenes? Did you see it?
I did. Yes, I saw them both.
Excellent. Okay, cool.
And yeah, there's one mid-credit scene and one end-credit scene. That's the other important thing to note. Man, I wish there was just like, I wish that the movie theater website would just tell you that with little check boxes or something, like, or just like how many mid-credit scenes there are or something. Usually I use the theater turning on the lights as the they're
signal. Just not good at it anymore. They just turn them on whenever they want.
Well, I think the bigger theaters, it's like automated, or maybe there's something where the person that's doing it pushes the button at some time that they know. But like our theater, again, it was kind of a smaller theater. They turned the lights on like basically when the credits started, and I knew that couldn't be it. So we stayed, and I'm glad that we did. But like typically if I go to an AMC or something, like they're pretty much right on whenever the credit scene ends, they turn the lights on.
No matter what, as soon as the credits roll, I'm pulling out my phone and checking if there's a after credit scene every time.
I mean, I do that too.
That's what I'm doing. I don't trust the lights. I don't trust the theater. Doesn't matter. As soon as the credits start to roll, I'm pulling out my phone. And the first thing I do is not text messages. It's not emails. It's not missed calls. Is there an after credit scene?
Do you have a good website for that?
After credits, I think is what it's called.
Okay. Because I always Google it, but like I wondered if there was actually a real way to know.
Yeah, literally aftercredits.com.
Okay.
Cool. And then it has all of the current like movies playing in theaters on its front page.
Nice.
And the other thing I really like about this is there's a little bit of fluff and a little bit of ads and a little bit of stuff, but like if you just look past it all, there's like bolded questions on the page with a red no or a green yes. And like, so you can go there for fluff and ads and here's the 20-minute or the 20 paragraph backstory. But like if what you're looking for on your phone after the movie is over is yes or no, this website does it.
Okay, I'll have to remember that. Because I think I had found like moviestingers.com or something like that. I don't know. But that one is I can never remember it, and obviously because I'm not doing it right now and whatever, but I'll remember aftercredits.com. That's good.
There's another I just want to point this out real fast. There's another nerdy movie out there right now, the Dungeons and Dragons movie.
Oh my gosh, yes.
I heard it was good. I heard it was funny. I heard that you don't need to be a super Dungeons and Dragons nerd to go watch it. You just need to be like ancillarily aware of the idea of Dungeons and Dragons, and you'll appreciate it. Obviously, I'm sure there's Easter eggs and little things that other people would appreciate, but I've heard that you don't need to be a super nerd to love it. So I am considering going to see it. Maybe that's a wait for it to be a streaming kind of thing. I don't really know. But I just wanted to point that out.
Yeah, it was definitely, that's also on my list. And I was talking to my wife and she's like, you cannot go see both of these movies before you record tomorrow. I was like, yeah, no, that's true. You're right. So I saw Mario, but not Dungeons and Dragons, but I am interested in seeing that. It'll probably be a streaming thing for me just based on my lack of motivation to go to a theater. If anything, I kind of wanted to go see Mario in 2D IMAX or Dolby, like, because I think that would be good on a big screen with a recliner and all that stuff. Like, I think it would be a really good one of those kinds of movies. But I'm probably not going to, just knowing myself. Last animated movie like that I saw was, I think the second Spider-Verse movie, maybe first Spider-Verse. I don't know. And it was really good. I really do like the Dolby 2D theater experience. Yeah.
Dolby Digital, right?
Yeah, well, it's whatever the thing it's marketed as. That instead of IMAX, it's marketed as Dolby.
Yeah. I tend to really like that. I like it more than IMAX.
Yeah, IMAX is almost too big.
Well, in any case, let us know. What are you going to see? Did you see the Mario movie? What'd you think? Did you see the dungeon? Should we? Okay, so this is honestly, genuinely, I want to know. Give us feedback. If you've seen the Dungeons and Dragons movie, should Chris and I go see it in theaters, or is it okay to wait to see it streaming? Like, is it a big, like, huge movie that we really should go see in theaters, or is it fine to wait? That's what I want to know. Or if you have feedback about the Mario movie, or anything like that, you can get in contact with us. You can let us know. You can talk to us. You can talk to other people in our growing Discord, which you can get to at discord.pnapodcast.com.
If you want to find any of our older episodes or read our show notes, you can visit our website at pnapodcast.com. That's P, the letter N, the letter A, podcast.com.
If you've enjoyed today's show, or you've enjoyed any of Pride and Accomplishment, we would love if you could share it with some others that might enjoy it as well.
Thanks for listening, everyone. We'll talk to you next time. Jason, did you see the news?
E3 is canceled.
Yes. This is one of these things where it's kind of like they came out with headlines for it, and you're like, oh, I thought that was already canceled.
No, I knew it was still around, and I was honestly surprised that they were trying to pull it off. But they hired, God, what was the name of the company? Maybe PopCap something.
Not PopCap.
It's some. What's PopCap?
PopCap was like mobile games and stuff.
Okay, so it's some big like video game event organizer that does all like the PAX East and the big conferences, and they're like very experienced in putting on these shows. They hired them to put this together to kind of bring E3 back. And if there's, basically everyone was saying if there's anyone that can do it, it's this company. And so, I mean, I knew it was coming back. Like I knew they were trying, but I am not surprised to see this news.
I think the thing that kind of finally sealed the deal was what Sony pulled out. No, Sony was already out. Microsoft? Ubisoft. Okay. I don't know. I knew it was like finally one of the last three people that still had an E3 show was like, yeah, we're not going to have an E3 show anymore. And so that was like, okay, well, I guess this is done. Like there was no way that they were going to have that event without the kind of big keynote-y announcements that they had been known for.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a chicken and an egg discussion happening here on, Ubisoft technically announced that they were pulling out first, but did they give them the heads up and said, so you don't lose face, do you want to announce that you're pulling out, and then we'll announce that we canceled it. The other idea is that the Ubisoft's big game right now is Assassin's Creed Mirage, which was supposed to come out in 2023. So they were like, oh, E3 is all going to be about Assassin's Creed Mirage. And apparently the word on the street is that it's going to get delayed to 2024. So they really didn't have anything to show. So there was really no point for them to go. So those are the two things that are kind of swirling around. No one really knows. No one's ever really going to know except for the people that were in that room. But yeah, no, Ubisoft was really the only one that was really going, the big publisher that was really going. Microsoft's right across the street. Summer Games Fest is happening on the Thursday before. Like, there's still a lot going on that week, but no one was really going to E3.
Yeah, and I think that is just a sign of the times, right? With COVID, they shut down, and so then all of the game studios, game publishers, game platforms all started to do their own kind of directs. I mean, Nintendo's been doing Nintendo Directs since the Switch came out, where they just put out videos here and there. But then Microsoft and Sony kind of got in on it, and then the other kind of studios started to get in on it. And I think it just kind of, the reason for having a giant trade show of video games kind of lost its luster if you weren't going to make it into a fan event, which I know they started to try to do it in 2018, 2019. But like they didn't really do it. They didn't really want to do it. And like all of the game journalists didn't really like it. And, cause like, oh, well, you get all these fan people that are in the way, and we don't really get to have any time with all of the actual, industry people that the game journalists want to talk to and stuff. So I get it. Like it's a little bit sad to see the brand go. Like I'm a little bit bummed that like E3 is not, I mean, for now, E3 is not really a thing, but I guess it was time.
Yeah. It's changed, right? We used to get our video game news through journalists. in our, magazines that we got. And that was with our, demo CDs in the middle of them. I mean, that's the way you did it, right? And so E3 was a place for journalists to go and get everything all at once and kind of disseminate that information. We don't really need that anymore. And, all of these companies were learning how to in-house this marketing and this stuff. And then, you're right. COVID kind of accelerated that by saying, hey, not only do you have to learn it, but now you like the only way to talk to people is to do it yourself. So you better learn how to put on a live stream. So, yeah, and we've seen an explosion of that. And I think in the end, they're like, hey, do we like this better? I'm not sure everyone likes it better, but I'm positive that the corporation side of the video game world loves the control of having their own broadcast.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
So I don't think we're ever going to see something like E3 come back, in full. I love Summer Games Fest. I think it's a really good kind of, it's not just indie stuff, but it is it's a fun little mostly indie thing sometimes. You got the Game Awards in September. That is kind of what's his name? Jeff Keighley. Jeff Keighley just runs all of video game propaganda now.
Yeah.
So,
I almost went to E3, or at least I thought I was going to go to E3 once.
When?
Sometime in the mid 2000s, like the first decade of the 2000s.
So you were 20?
No, I was younger than that, I think. I was high school age, I think.
I can't do math. Yeah, 2000s. So you were younger than that. Okay. Well, but it's in California, right? Were you out there? Was it already a thing, or were you planning to go?
Well, okay. So here's a little bit of background. I had a friend who was associated with a website that was doing reviews of GameCube games. It was called the GameCube Cafe, and it's gone now. Because it then became the Wii Cafe, and it's shut down now. But they went to E3 for 4 years, and there was kind of this idea of oh man, if you really break into this and you write about they did reviews and stuff. I think I wrote 1 or 2 reviews for their site or something like that, of games that I'm not even sure that I played, to be honest. I think they were games that they assigned me, and I just kind of tried to find footage and stuff of them and write up what I thought was going to be said about them, or what they would be about.
Oh, so a true video game journalist. Got it.
I guess it was pretty bad, but there was kind of this little bit of a path to man, if you really get into this and you do well, maybe you could come with us to E3 as a press person. And because I had my friend who kind of got me into it, he had gone and it was really cool. And they got to meet Charles Martinet, who's the voice of Mario, and all that cool stuff. So that all seemed really fun to me. And I kind of wish I had done it, but I did never end up going. But I am, 6 degrees of separation. I'm, 1 degree removed from people that have physically been to E3.
Okay. All right. I did not know that about you. That is an interest. You've been in video game broadcasting and media much longer than I ever knew.
Yeah. There we go. I was a game journalist before it was cool.